like just running with that and being like, well, if they're showing Eddie in this way, what does that mean about Eddie? Does
Mm.
this mean that our hero is the world's stupidest man? And then like when you start running with that, it starts becoming like a lot more entertaining.
Hey, good morning. This is Gina Versa. I'm here with Servant of Comics. I'm your host, and we're going to be talking about Madam Web, which I'm very morbidly fascinated with. But I have some good friends, my very good friends from London, to talk about it. I have the host of that 90s Spider-Man. Firstly is my good friend Henry. Henry, how you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. I wish I could have seen like 30, like about a week into the past, so I could prevent myself from watching this movie. But
Oh no. Sorry about that. But yeah,
I'm sorry about
yeah. And then I have Jack, the other host of that 90s Spider-Man, comic book enthusiast. He knows everything. And well, like mostly everything, yeah.
Hey, how's it going? I think I know everything about nothing, maybe is the
Okay.
best way of putting it.
Yeah.
So it's helpful today because I know a few random facts about Madam Web,
Okay. Okay.
probably.
Yeah. Henry, how do you feel about Madam Web? Because it's like I feel like I've listened to an episode of that 90s Spider-Man show, and you're I think you might have was that mentioned Madam Web in one of the recordings, and you're just like who is this character?
Well, I'm assuming you mean Madam Web as found in Spider-Man animated series,
Correct, yeah.
and I think honestly, like the best thing I can say about Madam Web is that even Spider-Man is pissed that she's there.
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
speaks like so in riddles all the time. She doesn't appear to be useful, and yeah, like she, she's very annoying. She's
Yeah.
not as annoying as Morbius, but that's saying very little.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. She
She
is
she has a unique she has a unique thing in the animated series, which is what our podcast is about. If anyone doesn't know,
yeah.
but she gives her riddles and her like predictions, but they're like so vague, which is
Hmm.
part and parcel of like the psychic trope or whatever. But she
Yeah.
does that. But she's also very angry and aggressive all the
Yeah.
time. So it's like she'll give something that doesn't quite make sense and then be really mad while she's giving it. And it's
Yeah.
just like a very hostile presence in the
Yeah.
show.
It's
Uh
honestly like she's pretending to be psychic, so that
mhm.
when it actually happens, she can be like, "Oh yeah, I meant that," but she could have meant like 7 or 8 different things at any given time.
Yeah, the two-headed dragon. Yeah, we knew that meant Norman Osborn
Yeah.
was gonna
Uh-huh.
dress up like a goblin and then try and kill you, right?
What else
Yeah.
could that possibly mean?
I
Yeah,
know.
gonna
uh
send your girlfriend into another dimension.
yeah, that's
Obviously,
what she
that's what I was
does.
saying.
That's what she does. I was gonna say I love this. This is if any listener has not listened to your the podcast that 90 Spider-Man, this is a very good preview of how the recordings usually go because it's like I love you guys on that show because you guys are like so funny on it.
Thank
Um
you.
yeah. But tell us how you guys been doing. We'll go into like maybe like what we're reading or watching um before we go into like full on Madam Web talk. But yeah,
Sure.
Henry, if you want to go first.
Oh yeah, so where have I been? Well, like so right now I'm home alone because my partner is out at a spa day with her mum. So I've like very briefly rekindled what it was like to be at home
Hmm.
by myself. So you can't see it from here, but I've actually put on pants for the first time this week, and that's been great. I've had fun with that. They're a bit restricting, but I'll get used to it. And
Okay.
then beyond that, we actually have spent a lot of time. We've gone into Mad Men, which is one of those
Oh.
shows which I've heard so much about, but I never really like. It never really like gripped me, but this time for some reason it clicked.
Hmm.
And then yesterday, I actually watched The Lighthouse for the first time,
Oh.
Oh,
and
I've been waiting for you
yeah,
to watch The Lighthouse for so long.
oh my god,
You didn't
My
like
partner
it?
also is like, she fucking hates the Lighthouse.
Oh no.
It made her mad, and she was like, "You have to watch it without me." So I had to wait until she left so I could finally watch it.
Mm-hmm.
And I, what else can you really say, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry if it wasn't
I mean,
wasn't the best. Yeah.
all I remember about that movie is coming out of it being like, I want to make as many people watch The Lighthouse as possible.
Yeah.
I understand that impulse, but also like you have to understand the destruction you're inflicting upon mankind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's,
Well,
it's a lot. It's a
yeah.
lot.
It's all there's certain scenes where I'm like, oh yeah, that happened. But you get like William Defoe singing sea shanties, right?
Yeah, you get Willem Dafoe farting.
Farting and
Farts that were on in the script.
oh, is it? Wow.
Yeah.
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 So
Uh-huh.
these are planned. These are planned farts from
Yeah.
the auteur, behind the witch.
Yeah.
Some actors can cry on command, but Willem Dafoe can fart on command. It's
Oh my
actually what
God.
got him his role in
God.
Spider-Man.
Maybe. Yeah. Imagine like I'm just imagining a scene where the goblin gets hit by the glider and it's like just like farts. Just like
That video is probably out there. I'm
yeah.
sure.
Well,
The Raimi memes subreddit
yeah,
will have
somewhere out there.
something.
What was it like when was it supposedly like when the body dies it just like sort of a certain thing comes out at the very end, you know?
Yeah.
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 But that's his, I forgot the name, the assistant that he has, who between scenes like undresses
Bernard.
yeah, Bernard. He undresses him so that like so Harry couldn't
excrement.
find him.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he had to deal with that. I mean, that guy dealt with a lot of
Poor
bullshit.
Bernard. You know what's funny? For Bernard,
Bullshit.
yeah, for Bernard in those three movies, like he's in that first movie and he might be in the second movie, but you see him in the background of like Spider-Man 1. Like he's around and they might say Bernard, excuse me if my memory's not well or not remembering it correctly. But because it's like how do you I don't know, for Spider-Man 3, like I like that scene with Bernard where he's like, your father died by his own hand. But it's also like you're kind of like, who are you? You know?
Yeah.
It's
I mean,
like,
you hire up and you're like, this guy's so fired.
yeah.
He's one of the most important characters that no one can remember the name of.
Except me, yeah, Bernard.
Yeah.
But yeah. But
Also,
yeah.
I just had a realization, right? At the end of Spider-Man 3, right? Mild spoilers, but like Harry Osborn dies, and he has no next of kin. So does that mean that Bernard technically inherits the fortune? From
That was
Harry
the whole
Osborn?
plan. So I'm not going to disseminate any of this information because this is,
This is how it's gonna go.
he Doctor Strange like found the one future where he gets rich as fuck.
The Bran Stark.
Wow.
Future,
Bernard's
yeah.
like
all this way.
Bernard's like the secret mastermind of everything in the Raimi Spider-Mans. Maybe.
He's the
I'm
big
finding
bad
it-
of the films.
I'm finding it very hard to resist the urge to start talking about Bernard's watch,
Oh,
which I
yeah.
don't think
No,
is
you
that even a, did that is that as does the states know about Bernard's watch?
No, I don't actually know.
Oh, it's a TV show about a kid called Bernard who has a time traveling stopwatch or time stopping
Uh-huh.
stopwatch, and it's just like a staple for being like a British '90s kid.
Was that on the BBC?
Maybe I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've never heard of this show.
No,
you
there's no reason for you to have ever heard of it. I don't think even every like British
British-
person knows it.
Yeah, most people have no idea what the fuck he's talking about.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
We've had
Yeah.
this conversation before.
Yeah.
That's not surprising. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll let you get back on track.
Yeah. But we go off on tangents all the time on the podcast, so yeah, it's all right. But yeah, no, it's I wish the Lighthouse could have been better watch for everyone, but it's okay. It's
Yeah.
it's not a movie, it's more of a experience. So yeah, that's how we'll describe the Lighthouse. But Jack, what have you been watching or reading If you want,
I did something which I love to do and haven't done in a long time, which is just go to, because I'm living in a new area now. I've just moved to Canada,
Oh, congrats.
and this isn't the most important thing about moving to Canada, but it means that I'm near a new library, so I can go there and see what comics they have.
Oh,
So I do recommend that for anyone, because you'd be surprised at how many things they'll stock in, things you can check out, and it's like how I first read stuff like The Dark Knight Returns and like classics and stuff like that. And then so through that I've been reading the new run of Fantastic Four, Ryan North,
okay.
I believe, and that's really really good. I really recommend that because it's like very wholesome and like very good with the characters, but it's also like gets weird, like weird and like kind of like little bits of horror in there.
Okay.
Reed's eyeball keeps coming out of his head and going into other things. It's disgusting, but it's a really good. It's a really good read. Yeah.
Jack was sending me screenshots because
no context. Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
There you go.
Precisely.
Is that the comic where Doctor Doom takes like a bride?
No. Well, I mean, maybe.
Okay.
I only read the first read the first volume.
Okay.
But Doctor Doom hasn't shown up yet.
All
but the Doombots have shown up. There's a story where they go to a town that is entirely full of Doombots in the US, including like, and it gets weird though because it like turns out it was like some system that Doctor Doom made to serve and protect an old lady that helped him, because he's got that weird like he's a huge dick, but he has an honor system. And so he's like, I'm going to pay this lifetime debt to this one nice old lady. But it's going to be involving Doombots, and then it gets haunted, basically. Haunted Doombots. It's pretty good.
Yeah, that's cool. I love we were having a conversation the other day. You're like, how do like comic books, like when you're describing the plots, like sound to like normal people? Like you'll go up to like your cousin and be like some random cousin or like family member and be like, oh yeah, I'm reading this, and they're just like, oh okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's easy for us to plug our sideshow weird little bullshit corner, where where I do that to Henry as someone he's sporadically read comics, so so I can kind of go in and be like, yeah, do you know that like that there's like 100 Craven clones, and he made them all fight each other to see who was the best son, and that would be like the least weird thing I'd tell him that episode.
Those are
91, but yeah, that's the
91. Sorry.
I love those. I love the lore bullshit episodes. Those are amazing. Just so you guys know.
Oh, okay, good. They're like my favorite to do, although they do drive me crazy researching them.
Yeah,
I end up reading way too much.
Yeah,
way too much stuff.
Oh, but you've also been reading Ultimate Spider-Man, correct?
Oh yeah. I haven't brought that up on any of the podcasts, but the new Jonathan Hickman reboot of Ultimate Spider-Man. We read the first volume of Ultimate Spider-Man, like the original, on our Patreon actually. So if anyone wants to check that out, we've got like bonus episodes on there. So that's one of the few that Henry has read, and that was a big comic for me. That was like basically what got me into consistently reading comics when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And this new one is great because I feel like it's meant, like, so far only 2 issues in, but it's a slow burn.
Yeah.
And it's like, it feels like it's made for, like, you could read it as a child and understand it and everything, but I feel like there's a lot of adult themes in it,
Yeah.
It's like a very like melancholic and about family and about like waking up at like and I'm not sure how old he's meant to be, but
he's like 35, I think.
Yeah. So the quick summary for Henry, he's, because of plot shenanigans I won't go into. Basically, something has happened which in that universe which has prevented him from becoming Spider-Man when he was supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was interfered with. So now he's becoming Spider-Man, but he's becoming Spider-Man as someone who's been Peter Parker until he's in his mid-30s. Now he's married and has kids, but he's got this feeling of like I was meant to do something, like and it hasn't happened, and I'm sleepwalking through life. But then now he gets to be Spider-Man, and it's like a really, you can
That's
see
cool.
how there would be themes in there that you would relate to
Yeah.
as someone in their 30s who talks about Spider-Man the animated series on a podcast.
Is it like a Spider midlife crisis?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, pretty much.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So he
Yeah.
like gets a divorce and like dates like a 20-year-old spider.
Hey, no spoilers. No
No
spoilers.
spoilers. Gotta
Like a
keep
spider
reading.
convertible. I don't know.
Yeah. It's like, well, not that specifically, but it kind of reminds me of like the Matrix almost with like Spider-Man. Because it's like
Oh, well, like what was it called?
Resurrection.
Resurrections.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is that kind of vibe, actually.
Mm-hmm. Because he's like, yeah, waking up from his kind of like mundane life and like kind of like finding his like destiny.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've been really enjoying it. Not to like talk about it too much, but yeah, I love it. I love like just the fact where the mythos are changed. Like I guess like little spoilers, like Ben is still alive, Ben Parker, and then he's like
Mhm.
friends with like Jameson, and you get to see like Ben Parker and Jonah Jameson interact, which I don't think I've ever seen in a comic, and that's such an interesting
Mm.
dynamic because
Just for just a random thing, I've seen him interact in one comic.
oh, what was it?
It's obscure one. I can't remember
Okay.
who wrote it now, but there was in like 2010 or something. There was like a Spider-Man and the Secret Wars, which was like a retelling of the original Secret Wars from Spider-Man's point of view.
Oh yeah, I remember. Yeah.
Yeah, and during a point in that, he gets like cosmic power
Okay.
and can kind of
Yeah.
recreate the universe around him. And there's a bit where like he keeps changing the universe so that Uncle Ben doesn't die, but Uncle Ben just keeps dying in different ways.
Oh,
It's
I mean,
really
he's an
funny.
old man.
And there's a point where
he's an old man. Yeah,
he's like
that's the guy.
he's like having a conversation with Jonah, basically walking down the street, and
Yeah.
it's like he would say, like, while he's talking, he like saves Uncle Ben, and then it's like they carry on talking, and he like gets hit by a car.
Oh
It's,
man,
it was
God.
very funny, very
That,
funny. I do recommend that series
that
actually.
that that's funny. It's like, have you ever seen like there's this clip that keeps going viral of like the Brad Pitt movie? I think it's called like Meet Joe Black, and
Oh
it's
yeah.
oh yeah. So you've seen it where it's like they keep looking at each other, like, and it's
Mm.
like this long cut, like a minute, and it's like this meaningful like romantic scene, and then Brad Pitt gets hit by a car, like
Mhm.
out of nowhere.
You've
It's
seen
like
the full movie, haven't you, Henry? If I
I have
remember
seen the
right.
full movie, and honestly, like you can turn
uh-huh.
off the TV after that moment.
Nonsense.
It's like
It is a
3 hours
great.
long for some
It
reason.
is a great car crash moment in
Yeah,
cinema
yeah.
history.
Um, yeah. But Ultimate Spider-Man, definitely recommend it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely check it out. So cool. Yeah, I wanted kind of just hear what you had to say about that. But I guess kind of going right into it, kind of our first sort of topic. I guess this is like kind of subjective, just on everyone. Is there like, so the Sony cinematic universe, are there any good Sony Marvel movies? Is my question, because it's like um, you know,
The In Association
in
era.
association with Marvel?
Yeah.
Question mark. Yeah.
Mm. Well,
Hmm.
I think obviously I think we're miscounting. We're not counting rather the Spider Verse movies because that would be the obvious thing to say. But
Correct.
in terms of like the live action dirge of film, I think maybe the first Venom has its moments
Hmm.
if you're not sober and you have a really low expectation for what a movie should and could be, you'll enjoy Venom without thinking it's good.
Okay. Okay.
But apart from that, it's just been like it's been stinkers after stinkers, you know? Just
Yeah. You
Willem
don't like,
Dafoe farts escalating one after the other.
yeah. You, hmm You don't like Venom 2 though?
Don't like Venom 2.
Oh, darn.
No,
Do,
it was,
do you like Venom 2, Gene? You
I
sound
actually,
very
I
sad.
actually do like Venom 2. I like Venom 2 like more than Venom 1 because
Why
it's
is
like
that?
it's just like I think like Andy Serkis gave it like personality that I felt was missing from that first movie. Not to say like the first movie is like completely like unwatchable, but it gets kind of like dull because it's like I want to say it's like 2 hours and some change. Like it's not like a 2.5 hour movie, but it's like 2 hours
Mhm.
and like 10 minutes. And it's like there's like 30 minutes of that movie that you could cut out. And I felt like yeah, he gave it some personality. Like Carnage was done fairly well, I think. Um and like I loved all the symbiote stuff actually, like the symbiote kind of going on his journey. I believe a lot of some people actually have like kind of felt in like that LGBTQ community that the symbiote has like kind of like a lot of like allegory for like coming out as well. So I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And then just kind of like he lets like Venom be Venom, like too. Like he's like kind of the lethal protector, like, in that movie. Like he's not like it's not like the perfect interpretation of Venom because this is a Venom without Spider-Man, which is weird. But
yeah,
I just and then I just love all the weird sort of like funny bits in it, which I don't know, you don't really see that in a Marvel Cinematic Universe movie. Like you have like kind of like dumb humor, like say in an MCU movie, where it's like like whatever, like Kang, like sorry, in the was it Ant-Man Quantumania, you have like dumb like dick jokes, right?
Mm.
But like in in Venom 2 you have like all this like weird stuff where Eddie and Venom are like riffing on each other, or just like hearing Tom Hardy's like weird symbiote voice where he's like Eddie, you know it's just I just it's very like endearing to me for some weird reason. So yeah.
Yeah, I think like for me, like all these things have to be in the context of like I think every one of them is like every one of these like in association with movies are
Yes.
trash.
Yes.
Like I want to use the word trash because it's not always a bad thing in terms of entertainment. I think the the first time I watched Venom, it was depressing to me. I just like really didn't like it. And then the second time I was like inebriated enough
Hmm.
that it was a really fun time and it kind of like unlocked it a bit, just like almost like living on like with the movie on its own terms in terms of just like even even when it's like even when it's
Hmm.
not communicating its story very well,
Yeah.
like just running with that and being like, well, if they're showing Eddie in this way, what does that mean about Eddie? Does
Hmm.
this mean that our hero is the world's stupidest man? And then like when you start running with that, it starts becoming like a lot more entertaining.
Hmm.
And I think that kind of runs into the second one a bit as well,
Yeah.
which I enjoyed more than Henry, but definitely less than you.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
but like I think it's probably a better movie than the first,
For sure.
but like less like enjoyable. Like it hasn't got like the moment of like him getting in the lobster tank, where you're just like,
yeah,
what the hell is happening? Uh,
An iconic moment.
Yeah, and then Morbius,
Oh
Morbius,
God.
I think is actually like for all the memes about it. I think
Yeah.
the memes are a coping mechanism
Yeah.
for the people who watched it to make them feel as if they didn't waste time in their life because it's not I don't think it's like an entertaining watch. It's not so good
No.
it's bad or anything like that.
Yeah.
There's maybe like one or two lines where like Leto gives like a very wooden delivery and it's
Hmm.
it's a bit funny because it's very stilted,
Yeah.
but for the most part it's just quite boring
Yes.
and got nothing really going on there. So like it's that's really bottom of the barrel for me because of that. Even like,
Yeah.
see, if something isn't like if you're not getting high quality cinema, you kind of want some like fun. You want some like some crazy zany stuff going on, and Morbius does not have it.
Yeah.
yeah. I would say that like the reason that I maintain Venom is the only one of these that I actually like I wouldn't say like, but like I enjoy it because I would say it's the only one of these movies that is actually trying. You know,
Okay.
I think like most of the stuff in Venom was rejected by Brendan Fraser back in 2001, but at least like
Mm-hmm.
it was something that they thought this might be good. Let's try this. And I feel like ever since then they've kind of thrown in the towel a bit, and there's nothing to say that like any sort of not even love, but like effort, craftsmanship, like any sort of risks were taken with the property.
Are you,
And yeah,
Henry? Are
Hmm.
you positing that Monkey Bone is an adaptation of Venom?
I'm
Because
not
Oh my
not
god.
positive.
I yeah, I never I've never I don't know if I've ever talked about Monkey Bone on this podcast, but I love Monkey Bone as well.
Monkey
You
Bone
guys
is
are
yeah,
great.
you guys like Matt and Diego covered it
That's
for
right.
something,
Yeah.
right?
I
Yeah,
wasn't on it, but like
yeah.
yeah.
That yeah, that movie's crazy. I really like that movie. It's
It's
just
yeah, it's weird. It's very
yeah,
fucking
it's like
weird.
it's kind of full of bad ideas, but like it's
Yeah.
very
They commit to
entertaining.
those bad ideas. They go, let's give this a try. They swing at that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, whereas like these movies are just like bunts. They're bunts every time.
Mm,
And
Mm.
they're
yeah.
like a run to first base, and then they get struck out on second. But like every time they're bunting these movies, and I think that's like probably my biggest sort of like grievance with them. Really, is that like
Yeah. Yeah.
you didn't want to do this.
I
Why should I
think
watch it?
personally,
Yeah.
I think that there's an aspect to them where they're like the way I was thinking of it recently, actually, and this is how I kind of came into Madam Web,
Hmm.
was this is like in like a long running show, any long running show where there's a like season one villain
Hmm.
that comes back in a later season and then
Mm.
not as threatening anymore. And maybe they're actually like, you're like, well, we can team up to defeat the real bad guy, who I guess in this is like, Zaslav or like,
Yeah.
like
Abbey
a
Road.
Disney conglomerates or something like. There's like a real like almost old school level of bad to them.
Yeah.
Like they feel like ideas that Avi Arad was pushing for in like 2003 and 2004, and
Yeah.
no one wanted to make them. And somehow this stuff started getting through now.
Yeah.
Like when Venom came out, my first thought was when they started announcing it, is I was like, this movie isn't going to come out.
Yeah.
They've been talking about this for like decades.
Yep.
The time to make a Venom movie was
Yeah.
like, you know,
After
after
Spider-Man 3.
yeah,
Yeah.
after Spider-Man 3 was like the latest time. If you didn't double down then you're not going to do it. But then they did it, and I think part of the reason why people really Venom resonated with a lot of people was because it was like it was like different
Yeah.
to the way that like a lot of superhero movies can be disappointing now.
Yeah.
Like I think it was like if I'm actually thinking about what Venom movie could be, I do think it's crushingly disappointing. But if you don't
Yeah.
think about that,
Yeah.
then and you're comparing it to other stuff that was coming out that yeah maybe it looks a bit different,
Hmm.
and all these feel like that they're kind of like locked in the past. They're all like early 2000s kind of
Yeah.
schlock.
Uh
Uh,
yeah.
and yeah,
They're
it's weird.
mhm. They're almost like kind of like counter, well, I'm trying to think of the right word. It's like kind of like counter programming. Like like for the Super Bowl, like they have like the Puppy Bowl, you know?
Right.
Like if you don't like the Super Bowl, you can watch the Puppy Bowl, and it's like
Yeah, yeah.
we're not good, but we're like the substitute, you know?
Mhm.
Like, or if like, or if you can, it's like Coca-Cola and Shasta Cola. It's like if you don't want to spend like an extra dollar, we got Shasta Cola, you know?
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And like, in the same way that maybe you're a kid and someone would pick that up instead of Coca-Cola, like, for their kids by accident, their kids are really disappointed, 'cause they didn't pick the right thing, they got the off-brand
Yeah.
thing. But like,
Yeah. Off
yeah,
brand,
'cause
yeah.
in the same way that I think Dakota Johnson like joined this
Oh,
thinking she was gonna be like with Tom Holland in the MCU or something.
yeah. That's a question. Just a sidebar. Do you guys think she didn't read, maybe not like not read the not read the script, but like didn't kind of understand the Sony cinematic universe is not related to the Marvel cinematic universe. Do you guys think that? Because it kind of felt like that.
I think it's telling that she fired her agent.
Yeah, yeah, that's.
I do. Yeah, she doesn't seem like. I think she's fascinating. Like
Mhm.
every interview I see with her, I'm like, I wish I liked any of the movies you've been in because like that she's just like I don't know what's going on with Dakota Johnson, but like she's
Yeah,
got like a really interesting sense of
chaos,
humor, and
chaotic.
she doesn't
Yeah,
do these interviews in the way you're quote unquote supposed to do them.
no,
She says things you're not meant to say,
yeah,
and I kind of like live for it. It is
yeah.
great, but at the same
She
time,
she got Ellen
she's
canceled too.
yeah, and she's making like, but like she all these things are done in the most awkward way. So it's
Yeah,
like you could half the internet will react like laughing at her, and
yeah,
half of them are like, no, she's like being hilarious and ironic and everything.
yeah. It's
But I
she's
do think
chaotic.
with
Yeah.
yeah, I do think with this, there is this distinct feeling that she wasn't fully aware of what she
Mm,
was doing.
yeah.
But maybe the pitch was really good because I don't know why Adam Scott is in this movie.
Yeah, I don't know. As Ben
Going
Parker
through a
spoilers.
divorce, needs
As
like another like story to his house.
yeah. Yeah, I don't I can't. I don't know what was going through his head. Maybe he just really likes Ben Parker. I don't know.
Mhm.
But
I think
yeah.
it's probably the best part of the movie
Hmm.
is Adam
I,
Scott. I
I
think he's
do
the best.
I do yeah I do think he's genuinely good in this. I don't think his character makes any sense as the
No.
movie goes on,
I don't know if that
Yeah.
makes sense at all.
No. No.
but he's good. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll definitely touch on that when we go full on. But two really quick things because this has bugged me, I guess, now for a couple days on the podcast. Who came up with the best description of the Sony cinematic universe? A terminally ill cash cow. Was it you or Henry?
Well, I have to ask Henry this because I think it was Henry, but
Okay.
he's looking at me very confused right now.
I genuinely don't remember.
Yeah, someone
It's-
came up. Yeah.
It sounds like a Henryism, but maybe I just spent enough time around Henry that that's how I speak now.
Yeah.
It's
I should
definitely
type-
accurate, right?
It was, yeah. That's honestly like the best description I've ever heard of the Sony cinematic universe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like the
It's got a
sort
mad
of
cash
the
cow disease.
yeah. I was exactly. I was looking for the way. I was looking
Oh,
for the
God.
way to describe it. There
Yeah.
you
The bad cash kind.
go.
God, you got, oh my God. Well,
Because it doesn't quite make sense, does it? Like it's not
Yeah.
like the most profitable way to be like
No.
rinsing people of their money. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's not like this movie did particularly well. Right?
No, God, it did poorly. I feel like they've lost money on these movies because it's like when they put more or like, this one only had so much amount of money for opening weekend, but like also like I remember when people like trick Sony into like putting Morbius back into theaters
Mhm.
and like they're like, oh, okay, yeah, the people like it, and they're like, no, they did this as a joke, and then you lost money.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
probably
terminally
one
ill.
of the most successful like revolutionary consumer moments, which is kind of depressing in itself.
Yeah,
But yeah, no, that was very funny that that happened, and I mean I do think this movie deserves people's money more than Morbius ever did.
yeah, yeah. I think so. Henry's just like
Shaking his head.
shaking his head at the. Sorry, yeah. Well, I guess we'll get into that. I guess before we move on to like full on Madam Web spoilers, is there any Sony Cinematic Universe movie excluding Spider-Verse Part 3, whenever that comes out, who knows, that you're looking forward to? Because as you guys said in your podcast, it was almost the year of Craven, and we still have Craven coming out this year.
I'm not prepared for Craven.
Me neither.
I mean, to be honest, I wasn't excited about Madam Web at
Yeah.
all. Like the whole process of that, I was just in denial that it was actually coming out.
Mhm.
And then, but Craven, I don't know why, but the Craven movie is more upsetting to me.
Really?
I think,
Okay.
like, it's just more like, I think Madam Web is enough of a weird idea that the premise could support more of a movie. Craven is only interesting because Stanley was smoking a joint and went, "What? What if? What if a Russian guy from Africa came over and started attacking Spider-Man with spears and animals and nets and stuff?" And then Steve Ditko was like, "I will make something out of that nonsense you just told me."
The Marvel method.
Yeah, exactly. The Marvel method in action. And then, like, I mean, the recent Spider-Man 2 game did a good job of adapting Craven, which gives me, I guess, a little bit of hope that you can make like a serious Craven that isn't just rehashing Craven's Last Hunt.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that works as an introduction to a character.
Yeah, the game did it well for what it.
Yeah, it did a good sort of version. But yeah, I just like doing it without Spider-Man is just it makes no sense to me because that's why it's interesting. You know, there are certain villains which are interesting only because of the way they're clashing with a character. Craven is mostly entertaining to have Spider-Man, his like frustration with him and him making fun of him, and then maybe Craven like surprising him with like how he can actually outsmart him even though he's weaker. You know, there's a fun dynamic there, but you take that out and I'm like, this is just it's like Morbius again, where it's like Spider-Man fights science vampire is actually a terrible idea in my opinion, but like I think the first time they fought, actually, also the Lizard was there, and also it was during the era, the arc where he had 6 arms. And not Morbius's first appearance, but like his first meeting with Spider-Man.
Yeah,
and so there was already in that story like let's throw in some other elements, you know. I don't think these things work on their own, and so Craven is man like. I think the year of Craven is 2023 because, you know, it's just nothing, you know? Like, if Spider-Man's not going to show up in the Craven movie, then Craven isn't going to show up in the year of Craven.
Yeah.
I have a theory, right? So we've already established, more or less, that Venom is basically Monkey Bone.
Okay.
And we'll get to Madam Web, but I reckon Madam Web is basically the plot of the Nicolas Cage movie Next.
Oh, okay.
It's actually, yeah.
So I reckon that the Craven movie is probably going to be like a really edgy version of Dr. Dolittle.
Okay. Talks to animals.
Like the Eddie Murphy one, not the Robert Downey Jr. one.
Oh, yeah. God.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to like extrapolate from those first two things what the next series is in the pattern.
Yeah.
You know, you go Monkey Bone to 2007 Nicolas Cage movie. Yeah. Like, I'm not sure what the next step is.
God. Oh my God.
But I think it's just rejected the scripts from the early 2000s.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
they were floating around in studios and they were like, well, ditch the script and go with this one. They're too similar. And then Avi Arad is just hoovering them up and being like, how can we make this work in modern day?
God. Avi Arad is like a madman. It scares me that he's going to adapt Legend of Zelda.
Yeah.
It's terrifying.
Yeah.
He's a true villain of this.
True villain. Yeah, he's crazy. Show. Yeah, the devil works hard, but Avi Arad works harder. But yeah,
I mean, he definitely has a vision. I'll give him that.
Crazy, yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, I don't know because with Craven, what I guess it's like, you know, well, you want to do sexy Craven.
Yeah.
You want to what? Okay, you know, I don't know who the subject of these sentences are.
Okay.
Avi Arad. I'm Avi Arad pitching this. You want a sexy. You want a sexy Craven. You want to and you want them to. I think Henry actually, like, back when Craven the movie was more of a rumor. We brought it up in our podcast, and like early on in our podcast, and I think Henry like just predicted the movie because he was saying it's gonna, like, they're not gonna, he's gonna be like, an animal rights guy. He's gonna be like, coming from that angle more. Um, and I can see them doing that because they're thinking like, well, is it likable for a man to punch a gorilla in the stomach and overpower it? It's like, that's just like, actually, maybe the gorilla's his friend, he's like protecting the gorilla, and he's going to be going after poachers or something.
Like,
Maybe
yeah.
maybe the zookeeper.
Yeah, or like Tarzan,
Although at the same time, right, like, there's been some Craven comic stories where they make use of the animal aspect by being like, hey, we've got all these animal themed supervillains, so let's do something with that, like he's hunting them. And if that happens in the game as well, where it's like he's going after like Vulture and Scorpion and stuff like that. So it could be they could see it as an opportunity to cram in some of those villains. Maybe Paul Giamatti comes back.
Yeah, as the Rhino. Yeah, the Rhino's in the movie apparently.
For real?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I don't know if that's spoiler. I don't know if you guys will see it, but yeah, he's in the movie.
I feel like these movies are spoiler proof. I don't.
Yeah, it's like
It's the one aspect of these things where I'm like, yeah, I don't care. Tell me what's going on.
Yeah,
it might save you from having to watch it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But one last thing before we talk about Madam Web, which I promise we will. I'm just gonna list the current slate of Sony movies because I'm like, who's looking forward to it? It's these are still apparently being developed. Who knows if they'll happen? Sinister Six, Night Watch, Jackpot. Oh God, sorry, I'm making you guys mad. Untitled Robert Orsi project, which that's
That's the worst one.
That's no, we're still going. There's Magic Blood, probably. Untitled Olivia Wilde project. Maybe it might be
okay.
Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I kind of want to look forward to that because it's like the movie wasn't so good, but everything behind the scenes of Don't Worry, Darling was very entertaining. All the lore.
I like Booksmart as well.
Booksmart, yeah, it was actually a good movie. Yeah, she's pretty talented as a director. Outside of all the memes and drama. El Morto, which doesn't have Bad Bunny apparently, which is like the reason they developed it.
Right.
This one actually maybe I'm like kind of Untitled Hypno Hustler, which Donald Glover might be.
Oh,
maybe. Yeah.
I was about to say I don't think that's going to come out, and you said Donald Glover, and I'm like, if Donald Glover wanted a Hypno Hustler movie to come out, maybe it would.
Yeah, yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Maybe it should, maybe it shouldn't, but it would.
Yeah. Who knows? Who knows? And the last one, Mysterio.
Mysterio. I don't know why I'd want to see Mysterio not going up against
Spider-Man,
Spider-Man, or even Daredevil or something like. Wow, that's quite the list. I don't think personally. I would go as far as to say I don't think any of those movies are going to come out.
Okay,
but I think the one that has a chance is Sinister Six because that's just lingered around for so long, and there are a few ways to do a good Sinister Six movie.
Yeah,
the obvious way that they probably won't do because it's the obvious interesting way would be to adapt Superior Foes of Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm. I like that comic.
Yeah, which is for Henry. I don't believe you would know. It's kind of like it's from the perspective. It's a comic from the perspective of like low rent Spider-Man villains, people like Shocker. So it's not the original lineup, and it's kind of like a comedy. From that point of view of them sort of taking on the mantle and everything. And there's been different versions of that sort of dynamic. Mm-hmm. I think if you're going to make a movie, that would be the obvious way to do it. Because if you're doing it with the classic lineup, then obviously Spider-Man should be involved in some capacity, and I don't think he would be. You know, I mean, you could do a Sinister Six movie in terms of like Spider-Man : Sinister Six or something like that. Like, and make them the focus of the movie, where Tom Holland isn't like, it's not like his story necessarily. There's probably something you could do with that, but I really feel like they're just going to do like, well, it'd be the Sony Six, right? With with Morbius and Vulture,
Craven. Who else do they got? Maybe Venom. Probably Venom's their star. God knows who else.
Carnage's beheaded corpse.
Yeah. It's gonna be dealer's choice. Whoever will be in there, it's gonna be like the most randomness of people. It'll be like the Rhino and like Hypno Hustler.
I think that'll be when Avi Arad makes his live action debut, playing himself.
Playing himself
as the ringleader.
Yeah, you know,
literally.
Yeah,
I'm actually like kind of into the idea of a Mysterio movie, but only in the situation where it's like Jake Gyllenhaal again. And it's like kind of like an El Camino thing of like how he faked his death after Far From Home.
There you go.
Yeah. I do like the idea of seeing Mysterio come back in some capacity.
He was almost going to come back in No Way Home.
I think that would have made a lot of sense, to be honest, for that movie to have an antagonist, really.
It was. So I don't think it's ever been confirmed, but like the most sort of like best kind of logical reasoning, he would have been a variant at the very end somehow when the worlds were doing all that, but we'll never know because that movie went through rewrites every single day of every single shooting day.
Well, there's comic precedent for Mysterio faking his death in a way that makes like no sense whatsoever. He shoots himself in the head at one point, and
in Daredevil,
and comes back, you know, like, just kidding. He's the character to do that kind of thing with, you know.
Made a much better No Way Home, not gonna lie.
Comics are weird. And with and with that statement, transition to our very last topic, which finally got to. Madam Web came out Valentine's Day weekend. I don't know if anyone took a date to go see it, but maybe it was the movie to take a date to. And I guess, like, let's go into it. This movie was terrible. This movie was awful. And it's kind of endearing, and it's so awful it's funny, like The Room. If anyone's seen that, it kind of reminds me of that, or like a mystery science theater movie, or kind of like a campy movie. But like, this was not very good. So
I want to jump on that as well, because I think, like, I think it's a so bad it's good movie. I think if you have a group of friends and you're not taking it very seriously, this would be a really fun time. I also think, but like, aside from that part of it, I think it's actually kind of like good to compare it to The Room, because The Room is a movie which, aside from the memes and like the everything about it is terrible, there is a story in there that he's trying and failing to execute. You know, he's trying to do like a Tennessee Williams kind of like deep romantic like tragedy, and he's not pulling it off. And I think in the same way that here you can see what they're doing. You know, it's not like it's completely it's not meandering necessarily. It's like doing one thing. It's just like it's like a Frankenstein, like, you know, it's built that story out of so many weird different badly executed elements that it comes together, and it just like I mean, I think I might be the only one on this this podcast to say it, but like, I really enjoyed Madam Web.
Oh no! Oh
man. I had a great time.
For all of 2 hours.
I think it kind of flew by. But I also think that, like, on the flip side, I think I got a couple of messages from, I watched it before Henry, and when he watched it, he I didn't want to like hype it or anything.
Yeah.
So I was like, just tell me when you watched it, and then
Yeah.
he sent me some like, pre. I think like I almost felt bad, like I'd done something bad to him. He seemed like
Oh.
deeply, deeply depressed
Oh no.
by that movie.
Uh, Henry, what did you think of Adam Web?
So it's funny you say that it's actually a Valentine's Day um special, if you
Hmm.
will.
Okay.
So I'm gonna tell you a bit about the story about how I came to watch Madam Web because I think it's more interesting than talking about the movie. But basically, um, that Saturday, my partner, she actually paid for me to go and watch Madam Web somewhere else
Hmm.
without her,
Okay.
and
I
for
think she
whatever
was.
reason,
I think she was breaking up with you. That's how they do
yeah,
it
then
these
she got sick.
days. Why
Then
don't
she
you
got
go
sick like
see
the same minute.
Madam Web throws money
Yeah,
at you?
yeah, go see Madam Web, you bastard, cheating
That is
dog,
like in The
whatever.
Simpsons where Bart like throws flowers. He's like, go eat some flowers.
No, my
There-
secret shame. It is my secret shame. But yeah. So that being said, we ended up not going, and then what I ended up doing, which was my original plan, was to basically torrent it.
ah,
And I had a camera. It was a really bad camera, like to the point where the person
God.
um where the person taking the recording of it had a cold, so they were coughing and sneezing throughout this entire
Oh
like
no.
recording.
Okay.
And there were people like you could see people walking out of the cinema as
Uh-huh.
it was happening. And every 20 minutes, it would stop the movie to give me like a betting ad.
Okay. Wow.
And honestly, like it was exactly the kind of experience that I wanted to have watching Madam Web because those were my favorite parts of watching the movie was all the shit around it because I I I don't know if it's obvious, but I kind of disagree that it's so bad it's good.
Okay.
You know,
No, it's
I
fair.
think the thing that makes The Room and like Hands of Fate and all these like really fun bad movies like fun to watch is that like you can tell that somebody is trying. You
Hmm.
know, they're failing, sure, but they're like taking like they want to make something that's good, but like I found all of this just so incredibly low effort. You know,
Oh,
there's
okay.
so much here that like is at best derivative of like a movie from 20 years ago and
Hmm.
not even a good movie from 20 years ago, you know, like
Yeah.
I kind of mentioned next, which is it's not good at all, but like at least it stuck to its premise and tried to do something with it. Whereas this, like, I they told me what was happening in the movie, but they kind of like trailed off mid sentence.
Like Grandpa Simpson telling
Yeah,
like
like,
a old story.
Mm.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
you
I
know,
mean, it's weird because I do think the secret to a good bad movie, like you said, is trying. If you
Yes.
see someone try and fail, it's more endearing.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
admirable
uh,
at least,
and
you
I
know.
don't know what it is about this film that I think that I agree that I don't think that I think it is very cynical.
Yeah.
In a
Yeah.
way, you can tell like there's so many. It's very clear you can see the pitch meeting. That like you get like halfway through, right, and then I was just like, oh, they're doing like totally spies. Like they're trying to like get like a young female audience.
Hmm.
And that's why they're like that's how we can use the fact that we've got these sort of free Spider Women characters that we're
Hmm.
not using for
Yeah.
anything.
They're
You know,
they never become the spider superheroes in the whole
exactly.
movie, only in
Yeah, like
future sequences,
that
which are
that
two
was
scenes.
that was the most
That's
insane thing.
insane.
That is
That's
insane. I mean, for one thing, it's a lie. Those
yeah.
trailers were lying,
Yeah.
because it's just like that doesn't happen. But it's also kind of like from a shithead producer point of view,
Yeah.
kind of genius in
Hmm.
that like we can advertise a movie that has like super powered like spider people in it. They're not really in it.
Yeah.
We can, instead of doing a post credit scene of what the next thing would be, we can integrate the post credit into the movie as a like vision of the future.
Yeah.
And then we can also not actually really commit to the costumes or the set pieces
Yeah.
because we can use a costume test as the scenes in the
As a
movie.
scene, yeah, save money.
And that's why those scenes kind of play like, you know, like high effort cosplay rather than like actual like, you know, movie.
Like a TikTok. I was
Costumes all look like shit.
yeah, they're not good. I was gonna say I might know someone that, or excuse me, I know someone that worked on some of those trailers and promos, and you know, they were having they might have had a, without saying, you know, too much, but that was a little difficult trying to get in the you know, more costume shots in the trailer. So yeah,
It is interesting though because I do remember seeing the trailer and being like, why are those scenes shot like this? They have this weird sort of like veneer over them, like it's a bit blurry and everything. And then it's of course because in that scene, it's a vision that Ezekiel is seeing of the future. So it looks a bit warped and weird because it's a vision. And that's why those are the only scenes in that trailer that look like that.
Yeah. Oh, I was gonna say, just to interject, I should probably touch on that. Ezekiel Sims, I don't know, like he's dubbed the whole movie. That's another insane thing. Like he had like someone they dubbed over his voice, and that's correct. Or
that was a good that honestly that's a primary reason why I enjoyed this movie.
okay.
I think the dubbing is the worst dubbing I've probably ever seen
so
in a
bad.
movie this big.
It's so bad.
It's so bad, but like it did remind me a bit of the. I mean, just to throw like the 20th Simpsons reference in.
Okay, yeah, sure.
The Krusty the Clown, like bada bing, bada boom. That's how it's done, kids. You know, like coming in and doing his lines and then leaving.
Yeah.
But like I also felt like there was they were. It almost felt like I could understand what he was saying and everything.
Yeah.
But it felt like I could see the director off camera being like, I didn't understand that, and making him say it 100 times, and the 100th take where he's a bit pissed off and he's over enunciating every single word is the one they use, because everything he said is said so strange. And it's crazy because it's important to know for anyone who doesn't know, Tahar Rahim is an incredible actor. He's if anyone checks out A Prophet, he's amazing in that. He's also in a movie called The Past by Asghar Farhadi. That is really good. Like, he's a very good nuanced actor. And here he is so strange. Everything he says is I couldn't get out of my head him just like, you know, the power of the spider.
Yeah.
Like everything, everything was so strange.
Yeah,
and
so weird.
it was, and you add that with like the strange, like
Direction.
blunt exposition in the dialogue and stuff. Like it was like really surreal.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, it's like when you're saying he did it for like 100 times, it's like we did the Jiminy Jilliker scene 60 times. It's not gonna get any better. Another Simpsons, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, like that whole way through that movie, like you say, the ADR is so bad. Like there are moments when like his mouth isn't even moving as like sounds come out and stuff like that. But like the bigger problem really is that like all of his dialogue is terrible.
Yes. Yeah.
And they make him say it like they give him the worst edit of each one, and not necessarily a bad thing to do it like, loads of time. Like if you think about Heat. Al Pacino's like great ass line was apparently like the result of Michael Mann like drumming it into him over hundreds and hundreds of takes. So it's not necessarily all bad, but like it's just
Did he aggravate Al Pacino so much that he acted that way for the rest of his life?
Maybe, he scarred him.
Just broke him.
He's traumatized by being on set.
It was a direct line from that to Dunkachino's.
Dunkachino, God. Another Sony movie, Jack and Jill.
Jack
and Jill. Crazy man.
Part of the Sonyverse.
Part of the Sonyverse. It's sad. I don't know if this is a controversial statement, but Sony, maybe the best studio right now, outside of the Spider Sony Cinematic Universe. They have some like pretty solid releases, I would say.
Yeah, well, also like not much of a bar to clear
Yeah. They're less crazy
Yeah,
than
caught
Warner
off guard.
Brothers. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not
Um,
actively writing off movies for tax
yeah.
reasons,
Well, they
as
just
far
make
as I know.
yeah, as far as we know, they just make bad Spider-Man movies, which hey, compared to everyone else, compared to David Zaslav, not so
Yeah.
bad. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's why that going back to that analogy of like the season one villain coming
Yeah.
back, because it's like it just feels low stakes to just have
Yeah.
a dumb movie like this. Like, and it does, if this especially feels like it's from that era. I think there's also something about them, like as far as I could tell, like a lot of like shooting on location in New
Correct.
York.
Yeah. No
Even
green screens.
yeah, and it kind of like, okay, this is gonna sound like, blasphemy. It
Blasphemy.
reminded me of the Raimi Spider-Man trilogy.
They
And
reuse a shot. They reuse shots from the
right,
Raimi movie. Yeah.
yeah, and it's purely like seeing those buildings again
Yep.
shot in real life. It was like, oh, I haven't seen this for a while, and it kind of like made it feel like this was happening actually in that same universe,
Mhm.
which makes me wonder if that was like partly deliberate because originally it was explicitly going to be at certain points in production they were like, this is a Raimi,
It's in the
like,
universe.
like this is
Yeah.
because it is weird, like 2003 to choose that as a year is weird, but then also like they got this
2000. Yeah.
they got
What?
this weird stuff with Peter Parker being
Yeah.
born, and
Yeah.
they're gonna remind you that a Parker is being born
hmm
just around the corner. I'm going to keep reminding you that's going to happen, but we're
Mhm.
also not going to confirm it either.
Yeah.
That should piss me
So
off.
strange.
Yeah.
It's so strange. I don't
I-
understand.
I'll have to say it off camera, but there was apparently more of that got cut. I'll say it off camera because
Okay, sure.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
It's so weird.
yeah.
I will
It's
say that the
Mhm.
baby shower scene was probably my favorite
Oh
scene in
god.
the movie.
Oh yeah.
I think they should like. I do think that there are movie the thing that I think elevates this movie into making me enjoy it more. I think there are sequences in it where it was actually kind of successful.
hmm
There's a couple of like
Hmm.
set pieces or uses of her power that I
Okay.
think were like paced kind of well, or
Mhm.
like I do think that is better than Next.
Yeah.
which,
I
which which is Next is terrible.
Yeah.
I do think that they do the dynamic of seeing into the immediate future a little bit better. But I do
Interesting.
think
They do it in an interesting way.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I could see how that's enough maybe to pitch this as a kind of like a thriller in that way.
Yeah.
And then I think there were a couple of bits here and there. I think the baby shower is great of just like for two reasons. I think it's great because I think they Dakota Johnson as a awkward human in real life
Yeah.
is really good at selling being an awkward human who doesn't want to be at a baby shower
Yeah.
and having to like do that social convention.
Yeah.
I think that was
brilliant.
I think she sold that. And
she
that
ends that party.
yeah, but at the same time, the funny thing about that, right, is she gets her powers. Well, no, I'm not going to go into what she gets
Okay,
her
yeah.
powers from, but she has the car crash where she first like starts experiencing weird stuff in the future. She like falls into the river on a car and somehow is brought back by CPR.
Yeah, because she was as a child, I guess, because we haven't even touched on the spider people. She was her mom was saved by spider people in the Amazon. We haven't even touched on that, but that's another insane thing. They look like Spider-Man, but they're a tribe in like the Amazon.
Yeah,
giving Henry a headache. I'm sorry.
But when she gets this power, and it is interesting. I do think too, if you experience that power,
Yes.
the first thing you're gonna think is like, oh, there's something wrong with me, or like I'm just getting crazy deja vu.
Yeah.
So seeing her in a social situation where it's just like someone would say something and then it would just cut to her being like, "You just said that," and then horrible awkward silence where everyone is like, "Why is she like acting so strangely?"
Yeah,
But
it's
which is funny. But on the other end of things, I was thinking like, as far as Adam Scott knows, she has a horrible concussion.
yeah.
Like she should be in a hospital, and then they go
She almost
straight to this
died.
like this social event,
Yeah, he's
and then
like,
she's there, and it's like she's saying stuff that doesn't make sense. She doesn't understand what's happening around her. She
yeah,
keeps things. She's saying, "Oh, didn't this just happen?" Like you would be like, "I need to take my friend to the doctor."
go, yeah,
Instead,
ER
not
room.
yeah, not only does he like is not bothered by this. But then, like an hour later in the movie, she turns up like after being on the news for kidnapping three women. And is like, "Can they stay at your house?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure."
And she steals a taxi.
Yeah, and he's
Never
like,
gives
"I'll
back
let
that taxi.
your friend has a brain injury, bro." Like,
He's supposed to be Ben Parker too. Power and responsibility. That's not
He
very
hasn't really done the
responsible.
responsibility stuff yet, really.
Yeah.
Oh
Oh
god.
man, I love the moments where they keep like dipping their toe in like the lore, where it's like he almost says like with great power comes great responsibility, or like they almost say Peter Parker at the baby shower that this is the baby that Mary Parker is supposed to have, and you're like, this movie's insane. Yeah,
I
I
mean, it's the
guess.
idea of that so that they can mean that, like, because Madam Web in the comics
Mhm.
is there's a whole thing where more recently a different person took the Madam Web
Oh, okay.
mantle, so she is Dakota Johnson sort of age. But in the cartoon and also like in most of the comics, she's an old woman.
Yep.
So is there like well, in 20 years' time, Dakota Johnson isn't gonna be like gray hair old lady.
Mhm.
But is the idea that by time Peter Parker is Spider Man, that they would have an old Madam Web?
Oh, yeah.
Is that the idea?
I guess. I
Mm.
don't know the logic because yeah, it's
I think they had like a runtime they needed to fill up, and they were like, "Why not have like a whole pregnancy subplot?"
yeah, pregnancy
Yeah.
subplot, and then it's also like she loses her sight and mobility at the end
What
too,
the
and
fuck happened there? So can
yeah,
I need to
yeah,
ask
yeah.
what happened
She
there
got
because
hit in the head with a firework.
And she fell in the
with a
ocean.
flare,
Yeah,
but underwater, one, and B, like it wouldn't cause you to like I don't know completely lose control of your body, right?
yeah,
Or at least have a scene where like this is what happened. They just go, yeah, no, you know the story.
It
She's
is
now in a
strange.
wheelchair.
It
yeah.
is strange because you don't want to like not to say that like blindness or lack of
Mhm.
ability as a disability is a bad thing,
Yeah.
but it was like something to be ashamed of or
Mhm.
anything like that.
Mhm.
But it is weird how both those things are presented in the movie in like celebratory moments
Oh yeah.
because they bring her back with CPR. Like maybe we'll get into the CPR in a second, but
Yeah.
they bring her
Maybe not.
back to life, and uh and her eyes, she's clear she's gone blind, and everyone's like, "Yay!" Like, and then the
Uh,
next scene, it's like, also she's in a wheelchair, but it's
like
like this cool like hero
futuristic.
shot
Yeah,
moment,
futuristic
and
wheelchair. Looks like Professor X too.
yeah, and then it's
Yeah.
like that was the moment for me where I was like, "Oh, she's Charlie. This is Charlie's Angels.
Yeah.
That's what they're
Sure.
pitching the sequel to be."
That's the real movie that they were waiting for.
Yeah,
But like
They were trying.
physiologically, I don't understand how you get hit in the head with a firework,
Mhm.
ended up paralyzed. I can understand
The
maybe
impact. Yeah.
she went blind, but
Yeah.
then again, like
maybe it was
I just
hitting
don't
the
understand how
water.
this works.
Water.
Oh,
I don't.
also should just point out while we're in spoiler
Yeah.
territory,
Yeah.
the villain died by Pepsi
Oh yeah.
sign
Yeah,
falling on
Pepsi
him.
Cola. God.
We're
It's
following up another scene of the baby shower where she's just holding a Pepsi
Pepsi.
can
It's
in
a
the middle
two.
of the
like a
frame,
logo.
and they've
Yeah.
turned the contrast up, so it's like this glowing blue Pepsi can.
It's the 2003 logo too. I
Oh,
man,
that's neat.
I love all the 2003 references. They're like, oh, no, I need to go home, watch TiVo. to watch American Idol, and then there's like a giant like there was an ad
What's the
for like a
Beyonce poster?
Beyonce. Yep, that was like
Yeah.
so crazy. There was
Yeah.
like a 9/11 poster because it was just like this is a crazy movie. But I guess we're kind of short on time. Sorry to
Mhm.
wrap this up because this has been really fun.
Yeah,
But
there's too much to talk about
too
this
much.
movie.
This could be like a 2-hour podcast, but unfortunately, a little pressed. But gentlemen, any last thoughts on Madam Web to just kind of make a final statement?
I wouldn't say like of all these like I think Dakota Johnson, I don't like looking at all the press stuff she did around this,
Mm-hmm.
she's like playing it a certain way, but like I think she's like I'm impressed by how bad she is in this movie.
Oh.
Like taking out all like the supernatural stuff, like the Cassie Webb is an asshole. She's
Yeah.
like a complete asshole.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like
Well,
as
it's
someone who
true to
works
the cartoon, I
regularly.
guess.
Sorry?
True to the cartoon, I guess.
Yeah, I guess true to the cartoon. But like as a paramedic, right? She's remarkably flippant about death. You
Mhm.
know? She doesn't like she's been in situations where she's saved lives and like she has no ability to empathize with other people. She doesn't appear to know how to make friends. Like even in the scene where like she's with that cat and he's like, well, we're both orphans, right? And I'm like, no, that cat probably would give it a nice home and it'll be fine, but you cannot be with other people. You know, and I think like the one thing I will say for this movie is that like with anybody else this wouldn't work, but because it's her, because of the way she plays this character, and not for like not by design, almost by accident, like it makes it watchable. But I'm mad all over again thinking about this movie, and you should not go see it if this is like a recommendation sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's not good.
Yeah, that sums it up. That sums it up pretty well. Jack.
You should go see this movie.
Oh man.
I think wait for it to be streaming or something like that. I
Okay.
don't think this movie like
Fair.
deserves money. I don't think that I don't want it to like
Make
I don't want
money.
them to make a Madam Web 2 and keep making these decisions.
Yeah.
I think this is just a unique movie where so many bad decisions were made behind and in front of the camera, and the movie is like, 1 minute there'll be a slightly exciting sequence, the next minute it'll be directed so poorly that you don't know what's going on. Like it's all over the place, and it's
Yeah.
just, but it's so strange. And I think camp is the word for it. I think
Okay.
that like there is a chance that this could become like a camp classic, really. Like it's that level of like just delightfully over the top, weird and bad. But time will tell on that. I had a lot of fun with it, but obviously that's not going to work for everyone. But I think if you're going to watch a movie with some friends and you're like your choice is between this and Morbius, put this on. Let's all forget about Morbius. Let's just talk about Madam Web now instead. That it can take that slot.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know though. If there's a choice between like being at home with some friends and watching Morbius or Madam Web, I think it's time for everyone to go home.
Everyone's too
It's like
drunk.
get out
at
of my
that
house
point.
time. You know?
It's like get the fuck out. It's like everyone's too drunk.
Yeah.
Oh man.
This evening is over.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's a good statement to go out on. You could say this movie was chaotic, like Dakota Johnson. See it at your own risk. This was a fun, chaotic too recording, like Dakota Johnson. It was really good to have you guys on. I know we live in like 3 countries, but you guys are my really good friends. Love you guys, and it's always nice to see you and like talk about weird dumb movies and weird war bullshit on this podcast. And yeah, it was such a pleasure to have you guys on again.
Yeah, thanks for having us. It's always fun. It's always fun.
Yeah.
Such a pleasure to be here. And like, if you want to talk about weird bullshit, we are your guys.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So plugs. Anyone want to promote anything? Anything to follow you at?
Yeah. Well, That 90s Spider-Man show is our podcast. We talk about Spider-Man the animated series, episode by episode, but I bring the comic lore. So we have side episodes where we go into the weird stuff that happens in the comics. I try and surprise and confuse Henry with. And then we also have a Patreon with bonus episodes and a Discord where we, just talk shit about
It's fun.
stuff and share memes and stuff. Gene is there.
I share some really dumb memes on there, so it's a really good Discord.
Yeah.
That what is it called again?
Henry, do you want to say what it's called?
The
The radioactive spider hole.
There you go. Yeah.
highly
Go open that hole. Just go open there.
highly recommend that Discord. Join it.
Yeah.
Join the fun.
Yeah.
And then I highly recommend your guys' podcast because you guys are amazing on it. I still need to finish the 5th anniversary, but I will.
Oh, sweet. Yeah.
It was a great episode. Yeah.
Oh, that's a one last thing that I always forget to do is check out No Context Spider-Man,
Oh.
which is I have it on Instagram and Blue Sky and Twitter. Just post weird, funny, out of context panels from Spider-Man comics, and that's it. But if you just want like your little dose of that kind of thing, then you can follow those.
Yeah. Definitely follow that. And then I don't know if anyone wants to give out any socials or anything, but yeah.
Well, yeah, I guess you're not on any socials, Henry. So.
Yeah. Okay. Never mind.
Because I'm just like a grandma now.
Oh.
I post racist memes on Facebook. That's what I
do. Yeah.
Well, the podcast is that 90s SM show on pretty much everything. And also I'm on Blue Sky at JAlexG. Blue Sky URLs are really confusing, so I don't know what to say more than that.
I'm Blue Sky. Yeah.
It's on Blue Sky.
Yeah, we'll put it on the description. Yeah. But no, this was a blast. Yeah, good to have you guys on again. I know this was like such a going from many places in the conversation, but it'll all make sense if you listen to it. But yeah, you could find me maybe, yeah. You could find me on Twitter and Instagram, Gene9892. You could follow the Waffle Press on Instagram at the Waffle Press Podcast, on Twitter for however long that is, at the Waffle Press. Serving Up Comics is the @ for this specific podcast. We're on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, SoundCloud, all the platforms. Please like, share, subscribe. If there's something you don't like it anyway. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We've been professionally unprofessional.